Hey, Cleveland. This is Anderson Varejão of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You are listening to the Sports Fix.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Live in Ohio, it's time to get your fix. The Sports Fix.
Away we go. Welcome in, everybody. Live, another edition of the Sports Fix is off and running daddy here across the Sports Fix radio network. And today I'm gonna break it out. It's been a minute, I think, since I've used the euphemism jam-packed, but we have a jam-packed edition of the Sports Fix today. We've got a couple of different opportunities for people to win today. Gonna be a lot of fun. A very wide variety of guests today and topics. I am fired up as we have passed hump day. We're coming downhill now, rolling downhill towards the weekend. The NBA longer extended all-star break almost behind us. The Cavs will be playing basketball again here. We'll get back into the flow of things, and oh man, but today it's a wee bit chilly out there. They kind of shut things down here around Cleveland, and we're going to warm it up, baby, here in the Sports Fix. Mike Brandyberry, speaking of warming it up, from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. The Tribe's warming it up in spring training. We're going to have our first, hey, it's real baseball talk here with Mike Brandyberry. Matter of fact, Mike's going to join us even earlier than usual. Very next segment from now, he's going to be with us, not only talking Tribe, but Mike Brandyberry is the secret keeper, the crypt keeper, the gatekeeper, if you will, of today's trivia question as we roll into day 3 of the Sports Fix 2015 second annual, whatever you want to call it, Tribe Trivia Challenge coming your way. Remember, somebody's going to get a chance to win that 1972 Indians home white Gaylord Perry jersey, brought to you by our good friends over there at the Morning Wood. And question number 3, it's a good one too. I've already been privy to the question here this morning. I can't tell you, I didn't know it. Not off the top of my head, absolutely not. So this is one of those good ones that'll make you do a little learning, as they say. Should be fun. Mike's going to bring you that question. A few minutes from now, I'm even going to hook you up. For those of you that didn't hear yesterday's show, I'm going to bring you yesterday's question first. Then question number 3 coming your way, of course, as you know, or maybe you don't. If it's your first time tuning in, 10 days, 10 questions. The person with the most answers wins, and they're going to get that aforementioned Gaylord Perry jersey. We'll talk more about that here in just a few moments. Speaking of giving things away, how about something you don't even have to wait 10 days for this one, because somebody's going to win today. My man, Vince McKee, the author of many great Cleveland sports books, Cleveland's Finest, Jacobs Field, History of the Wine and Gold and the Cavaliers, Hero, so many different things that Vince McKee has done. He's a MMA correspondent for the Inscriber Digital Magazine, and his newest piece of literary art, LeBron James, The Redemption of the King. He's put it together to celebrate not just the return of LeBron James to Cleveland, but his entire career. Vince is going to join us here a little bit later on in the show, just after we start hour 2. Talk about the book, talk about all the work he put into it. It's one of his favorite pieces, as he's told me. And at the end of that, we're going to give one of you listening a chance today to take home a copy. Courtesy of us, courtesy of Vince and Clarity Press, you can win a copy today of LeBron James' Redemption of the King by Vince McKee. That's coming your way. Plus, Doug Plagens, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, back in Cleveland after a road trip to Milwaukee. We're talking Monsters hockey with Doug and so much more. News of the day, a lot to get into. So let's do it, guys. Welcome into the Sports Fix. Those of you joining us for the first time or that you're here every day at noon, live across the Sports Fix radio network. I am your host, the Big Daddy, on this microphone here. Yep, working well here across, as I said, by the way, thank you very much. Jerry Myers, the Big Daddy on the microphone. J-Rocc, it doesn't matter what you call me. Call me happy to be here. I say it each and every day, live at noon with you guys. Whether you're listening on TuneIn or TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker and Mixler and their digital and mobile apps, on the sportsfix.net, the home base, baby. Bookmark that right there. Anything you ever need, it's right there for you, the sportsfix.net. As well, welcome in all of you, the thousands of you guys around the world that listen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider, on iTunes, on Stitcher Radio and CarPlay and SoundCloud and all of those platforms as well. Hey, speaking of around the world and all of that, hey, shout out to Charles Morgan, who listens every day, good friend of the show. He won last year's Tribe Trivia Challenge, by the way. He's traveling from North Kakalaki up back to Cleveland, returning to Cleveland. Love to see the migration go that way, man. Returning up to Cleveland instead of heading out of Cleveland. Anyways, he's actually listening to the show on his trip, so be safe. I know the weather out there is a little bit hectic, but cool stuff there. And guys, as we roll on, be a part of the show. Phone line's going to be very limited today just because we've got such a loaded slate. When they are open, 216-539-7535 is how you do it. 216-539-7535. Can't get through? It's all good. You can get us anytime, 24/7. Leave your message on the hotline. We'll play it live at the first opportunity, no matter when you're listening to the show. If you're listening live or if you're listening in delay, can't get through or can't get to the phone, maybe you're listening at work like so many of you guys do, then hit us up on our social media, Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@aol.com, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfixcle. Email us, thesportsfix@aol.com. Let's get going. A couple of things I wanted to talk about here as we get going before we dive too deep into the show. Mike's going to be with us in just a few minutes, but looking at some of the news of the last 24 hours last night. By the way, last night, I told you guys a little bit, I was looking forward to it. Did not fail to live up to the hype. You college hoops guys out there checking out North Carolina and Duke. And again, just lived up to it. And what an incredible game. Goes into overtime. And what do you know? Duke wins it 92-90. They were down 10 points with under 4 minutes to go. Came back, and they've won now 6 straight in this one and 9 of the last 12. But that's a fooling statistic because overall, I told you guys yesterday how tight of a series this is. In the last 87 meetings, North Carolina has won 44 and Duke has won 43 and North Carolina has been outscored by just 6 points. Let me say that again. 87 games, the last 87 games, only 6 points separate those two teams. That is as close to just bam as you can. I mean, look at that, man. I mean, that is something. 6,725 points scored in those games by Duke, 6,719 by North Carolina. That's the epitome of equal there. Another game that you saw last night living up to it. And all the talk about Jahlil Okafor, and he's very quick in and out of college there, but he had a double-double in his first game of the Duke and North Carolina rivalry. Only 2 other people have done that, Jabari Parker and Luol Deng, and both of those guys were one and done, first-round lottery picks, and you can expect, I think, the same thing for Mr. Okafor, and I think that a lot of people see that as a foregone conclusion, but hell of a game there last night. Little preview into some tournament basketball coming up just around the corner, but that was a good one, and they kind of had the spotlight because there wasn't a whole lot going on out there outside of, the NBA shut down. And there was some hockey in that, but it was a slower sports night. So they had the spotlight and definitely took advantage of it there. Basketball-wise as well, Cavs, the trade deadline's here today. For some of you, it will have already passed by the time you listen to this show, but as of now, no real insight. I've kind of asked around and done some kicking of some tires. Not that the Cavs, they never, aren't looking to do something, but nothing actively cooking here. Be very interested to see when this trade deadline passes, not just if or what the Cavaliers do, but, because there's a lot of talk with the Brendan Haywood, with his what his value is. It's probably at its peak as far as a trade value, that contract of his, if you do it at the trade deadline, because I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that there's a clause trigger. It changes the value if you wait until the end of the season in what he's worth to another team and what they can take off of their salary cap with it, which is the whole reason that a team would trade for Haywood. I mean, that's exactly what he is, as a tradable asset. It's the contract. So for it to be worth its most, it's worth more if the Cavaliers move him now. But, not a lot right now said to be close, but we'll have to see what happens with, anything that happens in the next couple of hours. I don't anticipate anything on the trade front. There are some rumors out there not involving the Cavs. Kevin Garnett going back home to Minnesota, going home. Seems to have started a trend there, man. But that's one that I've heard out there. What's the other? Brooke Lopez and Reggie Jackson, perhaps with the Nets and OKC. Nets active in a couple of different conversations. It'll be interesting to see how that shakes down tomorrow. Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland, Cavaliers beat writer, tentatively scheduled to be with us tomorrow to talk about any trades that may have happened, and we'll begin to look forward to the Cavaliers' second half of the season. As I said, kind of glad to get this extended All-Star break here behind us and get that going, because once the hoops get going, colleges are coming down to their final games and tournament time's coming there, and there'll be a whole lot of sports. And then before you know it, crack of the bat, baby, opening day is here, and off we go running. You know what? While I'm talking basketball, a little bit of sad news here. Jerome Kersey, I don't know if you guys heard that, from the Portland Trail Blazers, played nearly 20 years in the NBA, passed away yesterday, 52 years old. I'll tell you what I found amazing about that when I was reading one of the stories about his career, and I that's a guy that was during my era of basketball, and I remember those Blazers teams with Drexler and Clyde Porter, Jerome Kersey, and those guys, but 52 years old, that, to me, unless I'm wrong, that's relatively young, for a person to pass away. And he's not the first one from those teams to pass away early. Kevin Duckworth passed away, it was about 5-6 years now. He was only 44 when he passed away. It's the second guy who passed away quite young from that Portland Trailblazers team of the late 80s and mid to late 80s to the early 90s there. But Jerome Kersey, man, definitely one of the good guys. And I grew up with that Trailblazers era, so I have a different view of his career, because it's one of those, we always talk about, when a guy's time is through your time, you see it a little differently than when you're hearing about or secondhand and all of that. But good guy there, man. He played on a couple of finals teams with the Blazers. Was it 90 and 92, and those teams that battled Jordan and battled with those Lakers teams down the stretch in the Western Conference there. And he ended up winning a championship late in his career, as he called on a season with San Antonio back in 99 when they won the first of their run of championships. And sad to hear there. Definitely one of the good guys, Jerome Kersey, passes away quite early. But when I saw that about Duckworth, I said, man, that's one of those odd coincidences that works out like that. The two guys from the same team, and they both pass away quite young like that. Either way, condolences to the family. Jerome Kersey, one of the good guys out there in the NBA. All right, guys, I'll go. You know what? Before I hit the break, one other thing, because I don't think I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. We've got Tribe, Cavs, Monsters, boom, 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 rolling on. Combine stuff going on. The Combine's whatever, but the interesting stuff to me and to Browns fans is that you've heard for the first time yesterday and today from Mike Pettine and from Ray Farmer, and some of their talk about some of the stuff and all of the stuff that has gone on, and in the offseason here for the Browns. And I'll tell you, I love Mike. When I hear Mike Pettine speak, look, you guys, I say it all the time. Best thing that these Browns could do is let him be the stable rock in the middle of all the stupidity that goes on around him. Because when I hear him talk, I do gain respect for him when I hear him talk. He's very upfront. I like the fact that he didn't shy away, for those of you that didn't hear, from the Ray Farmer stuff. I mean, you can't, and people that wanted him to be harsher, there's some people that came at me from the opposite and said, oh, well, he was well, what's he supposed to do? They do still have to work together. Like, anybody that goes too far in one direction doesn't understand that you do still have to maintain a working relationship here. This isn't a divorce here. This is a continuing relationship. But he didn't shy away from it. He said, I didn't like it. He said, I did not like it, and we talked about it, and Ray owned up to it with me, and we talked about it, dealt with it, and we're moving on, and we're able to work together. But he was straight up and said, hey, I'd be lying to you if I said that it didn't bother me a bit that he was texting my coaches and interfering in what we did. But they say they've talked about it and moved on. But I like that. I really do. I like that a lot, because a lot of guys would have said, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about it. We keep that stuff internal. And to me, that gives him credibility, because then when you're looking, and that's what the Browns need. They need a person with credibility. We know about Jimmy. Regardless if whatever is overblown or not, people have their opinions already set. Mike Pettine is a guy who can be credible as long as every time he says something, you don't look at him and go, come on, you're insulting my intelligence. Then you can take what he says at face value. The Browns need one person that when he talks, and this is all seriousness, you guys, they need one person that when he talks, you go, in the middle of all the craziness, I listen to that guy because he gives it to me straight. And I honestly believe that Mike Pettine can be that guy. He really does seem like a straight shooter when it comes to, I'm not going to sit here and pull you around when I know that that's what I'm doing. And he talked about that stuff. He talked about Manziel. Now, here's another thing that made me feel good. We'll see if it's just lip service or not. And this goes part into what I said about giving him Mike Pettine, more control over the football stuff. Because my gut has told me all winter that Jimmy Haslam hopes that Johnny Manziel can spend 6 or 8 weeks in a facility, come out and jump in and be the quarterback of the Browns. And I've been sure in my gut that was their, not just rainy day scenario, but that was their, unless things go wrong, this is what's going to happen. And I've been scared to death for that, because that's the biggest mistake to me that they can make here. Even if you want to bank on a comeback, that's cool. I'm not telling you to throw the kid aside, but you also can't bank in that way. Mike Pettine addressed that yesterday. He said he went and visited Johnny Manziel in rehab. Says right now he's in a better place than he was when he went in. That you guys can talk about that if you want or whatever. I'm not touching anything that has to do with what he's doing now, because I'm all about that. Anybody that tries to better themselves, and look, you guys know the kid's not my favorite guy. Anybody that tries to better themselves, I'm not going to sit here and crap all over that. So let's see what happens now with Johnny Manziel going forward as a person. I've got my beliefs about him as a football player. Let's see what he does as a person. But I like what Mike Pettine was saying about that, and a couple of the other things that he talked about as well when you look at things. And the quarterback, he said specifically, I want a quarterback. We need a quarterback. You cannot. There's too many question marks about Manziel. Now, hearing him say that, that's great. Last year, he fought the good fight with Brian Hoyer in the front office and all of that about Manziel. So he fought the good fight about a quarterback, but that doesn't mean that you can only play with the cards they give you come training camp. So I was worried about it until today. I did like what Ray Farmer said to back that statement up. When he was asked about it, he said, my coach said he's on the assumption that he needs a starting quarterback. We're going to go get him a starting quarterback. So I like that. That seems to me as if no matter what Ray Farmer and Jimmy Haslam want, they went to Mike Pettine. They said, what do you want to do at quarterback? He said, we need to find one. Go get him. Now, is it going to be Hoyer? They say the door's open there. Is it going to be a free agent? The door's open there. We'll find out about all of that. But I do like it that at least no matter what you want, you went to your guy, and he told you what he wanted, and you're at least giving lip service that you're going to go out there and give it to him. So I can dig that. I'm with it. I didn't get a chance to hear everything Ray Farmer said this morning because it happened during the run-up until today's show, so I'll get a chance to listen to that more and talk about it tomorrow. But just seeing the quick blurbs of what I saw, not a whole lot there different than what we've already heard, taking some ownership for the stuff that's happened and so on and so forth. As I said, to me, the main comment that I took out of the little bit that I saw was when he backed up Pettine there and said, hey, coach says we need a starting quarterback, so that's what we're going to go out there and find him. And that's some other interesting stuff, too. Justin Gilbert, Mike Pettine said, hey, yes, maturity and issues like that, but more than just that. He hinted to a personal issue that's involved here that is more to do with what's going on with Justin Gilbert than perhaps what people already know about. So there's that stuff out there as well. But again, the thing that I took away from Mike Pettine is that he can be the one guy that you go, you know what, this guy is not going to BS me. Now, of course, he's always going to give you the slight spin because everybody's got to do that. But at least with him, it's going to be the surface spin that all coaches give you and not the really deep stuff where you just, you know what I'm saying? When a guy looks at you and says, I can't answer your question because I got to check the tape or whatever. You know when these guys are looking at us and just blowing smoke where it's not supposed to go. So that's what I like, and that's what I take out of what Mike Pettine says. So we'll see how they go forward. The other thing that I dig, and I hope that this is legit too, is they talked about John DeFilippo not bringing in a playbook. He's going to take the playbook that they have, and he's just going to tweak and add to it, but he's going to go with the playbook that was left in place by Mike Shanahan. If he's able to do that, I love it. I'm all about that. That is the one thing that could make that change a very smooth transition, and I liked it. That's the one thing I dug when he was hired. He said, I'm going to learn their words instead of making them learn mine, because it's easier for one guy to learn the new terms and the new words than for me to ask 55, 56, however many guys to learn my words. And I dig it. And if they're sticking to that, if that's legit and not lip service, then it makes it a lot easier, the transition here out of that. By the way, some interesting stuff, too, that Mike Pettine went on some radio shows afterwards and talked about Kyle Shanahan and his way out. And tell you what, some interesting stuff. But we'll see. We'll see how all of that plays out after the fact. But Kyle Shanahan is not the awesome offensive guru that some people make him out to be, but he's not the hapless schlup that other people make him out to be either. He is a competent offensive coordinator. He also has a boatload of issues that come with him as well too. So it is what it is. But I couldn't tell you if the Browns are better or worse off until we see what they got. But again, I like where Mike Pettine's coming from. The rest of them are doing the organizational dance. I honestly believe that. But Mike Pettine strikes me as a rock around a bunch of craziness. You know, everybody else is riding the crazy train with Ozzy Osbourne, and Mike Pettine is, just sitting there letting moss grow on the boring rock that doesn't move. That's the feeling I get from the guy anyways. But pretty much that's all my takeaways. I don't have anything else from the combine. Guys are bench pressing stuff and lifting weights, and we'll find out. And in a couple of days, somebody on ESPN will tell you that one guy's the new Incredible Hulk and another guy's the fastest man in the world, and whatever, man. We'll talk about some more of that stuff as we get closer to the draft. Right now, I'm going to get ready for the break, and to set this up, Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTryWinLastNight.com is joining us next. We're going to talk some Indians, baby, as spring training is rolling on. And Mike's got question number 3 in the Tribe Trivia Challenge. For those of you that may not know, what is the Tribe Trivia Challenge? Easy. 10 questions, 10 days, Cleveland Indians history. All you have to do each day is listen to the show and email the answer to thesportsfix@AOL.com. The person who answers the most correct out of the 10 wins. What do you win? A 1972 Cooperstown collectible Gaylord Perry Indians home white jersey. Cannot wait to put that on somebody's back. You can win a piece of Indians history just for knowing some Cleveland Indians history. Mike's got a good question today. I'm going to hook you guys up, and I think I'm going to do this every day in the first segment of the show, is I'm going to repeat yesterday's question in the first segment of the show for anybody that may be tuning in for the first time. Remember, Every show is on archives, so no matter what site you listen on, you can just go back and listen to the previous shows, because the more you answer, the better your chances to win here. Question 2 from yesterday. Dan Wismar brought it to us, and it was a good one. Indians fans, who was the first Cleveland Indians player featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated? And then as a part B to that question, 1 month later, the second Cleveland Indians player was featured on the same magazine. Who was the first and second Indians players, 1 month apart from each other, featured on the cover for the first time of Sports Illustrated? That was a pretty good one from Dan Wismar. Mike Brandyberry's got another one that's definitely going to make you do some research and learn something that you didn't know before. So let's talk about all of this stuff. Injury updates. The Indians gave them to us today. Lots of guys rehabbing over the winter. What is their status as spring training begins? We'll talk about all of that. Some roster spots. Are they up for grabs? I want to continue what we were talking about yesterday with Dan Wismar and so much more. Indians fans, let's talk some Tribe. And don't forget, trivia question number 3 coming your way. Email your answer if you know it to thesportsfix@AOL.com. We'll bring that to you when we come back next with Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. Coming up next here on The Fix.
Public service announcement from the Sports Fix. We here at the Sports Fix and our affiliates would like to apologize for any disturbing verbal actions, but remember, it's better having them trapped in a box than loose on the streets. Public service announcement from the Sports Fix. The Sports Fix, the sports show that cares.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
Hey, Sports Fix fans, I'm Fred McLeod, TV voice of the Cavaliers. When I'm not busy taking elbows from my buddy Austin Carr, I'm tuning in to see what the guys are saying. Come on, Cavs!
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and
pour me out. This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
What's your fantasy say?
Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history?
He won it! Elo hit a three-pointer on the side.
In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Indian fever, it's catching fire with everyone. Indian fever, you can be part of the fun.
Be part of the fun. Welcome back to the Sports Fix. J-Rocc back with you, Jerry Myers. Welcome in here. The Sports Fix Radio Network rolling on. Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com is getting ready to join me on the hotline here. And not only are we going to have some fun, scintillating, thrilling Cleveland Indians conversation that actually counts now, as we have now crossed the threshold from projection to, well, kind of almost, pretty close to the actual thing. And not only that, but my man Mike is the gatekeeper of question number 3 in the Tribe Trivia Challenge, and it's a good one coming your way today. So let's get rolling with this. Don't forget, hour number 2, Vince McKee, author of many of your favorite Cleveland sports books and the new LeBron James Redemption of a King title that's coming out here. Vince is going to join us to talk about that book, and you can win a copy today here on the show of LeBron James Redemption of the King. Doug Plagens of the Lake Erie Monsters joins us in hour 2 as well, but that's then. And that's those guys. Right now, it's Now and Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. Mike, how you doing today?
I am freezing tail off, Jerry, just like the rest of us. Otherwise, I'm doing good, man.
Absolutely. What's your thermometer gauge say where you're at?
I don't know. I was joking with another teacher yesterday that I think today and tomorrow the temperatures have become so cold, like we don't have numbers for them. Today's temperature is Antarctica, and like tomorrow's is like the backside of the moon or something.
Brother, I'm looking at mine right now. There's not an S at the end of it. It's a 1. Singular degree. 1 degree is what is floating outside where I'm at right now. So, and I think that may be the high. No, maybe 2 was the high.
I was going to say that's good. From what I understand, that's going to be quite warm compared to tomorrow morning. So
yeah, man.
We'll be talking about that degree as a heat wave.
They're talking negative 25 with the wind chill in some parts here coming the early hours of tomorrow morning. I said, man, I'll tell you what, I feel bad for, man, do they still do home delivery? I don't even know because they canceled so much of the plain dealer. But if they did, you wouldn't be getting your plain dealer if I was your paper guy. That's all I'm going to tell you is you would just be mad that you didn't get your newspaper today. Because I don't know, do they even still have paper boys? I don't know. Do they?
I don't think so. I think most kids anymore, if it's not on electronics, they don't know about it. So if
not
they
just
have
kids,
paper boys, I think the boys they just email it to you now.
Well, not just that. I just mean, do they even have home delivery for the plain dealer? Do they still have home delivery?
I think they have home delivery 3 days a week, but I'm not
they
positive.
cut the days. You're right. Yeah, they cut the days of the week, and I remember that now. Yep. Which drives me nuts, but that's a whole nother.
They pay, but you have to go get it from somewhere. And it has about as much information as a menu, and then 3 days a week they deliver it at home.
Yeah, it's I know that we could go in a different. We don't have to go far, but I always lament what has happened to the plain dealer because I did, at least growing up, I was always of the impression that it was one of the better papers of all the newspapers that were out there, and I know it's fallen off a lot. It is what it is, but I know that it's changed a lot from what it used to be. For sure.
I won't go down that road. I have a thought, but we'll be 20 minutes into this.
No, absolutely
let's
not.
Talk some baseball.
Let's talk some baseball because they're playing some baseball, my man. And well, almost. But speaking of, I mentioned it before the break. Before we get into anything, you probably got, you get all the same emails directly from the tribe that I do. You got to love the book that they sent out updating, because when you come in with a lot of guys that have a bounce back expectation, you're going to have a lot of injury updates. And I finished reading the 3 chapters. No, I'm just joking, but it is like 9 guys deep that the Indians updated everybody and got an idea for the schedule that a lot of these guys are on coming in, because there are, as we said, concerns. You got so many different guys coming in off of surgeries, off of different injuries and that. And So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You got the same updates, Brandon Moss and Nick Swisher, and, such as Swisher. They say he's coming in, unrestricted with what he can do. How quickly that becomes restricted is the question that everybody's going to be watching. But, always interesting when you see such a long list of guys coming in. But we knew this all winter that you're bouncing on to, or counting on to bounce back here.
Yeah, and not to harp on this, but I know there's a lot of people that are really high on the Indians, and I'm trying to talk myself into this, Jerry, and because I'm not, I'm not down on the Indians. I just don't feel like they've made any kind of strides, either positive or negative, from last year. They were an 85-win team, and I feel like that's right about where they are still. And I mean, one of those big reasons for me is their health. And while they're building around a young core, I don't want to say their outlying parts, because their outlying parts seem to be like 70% of their payroll. So, I mean, those guys, their health has been in question, and even the addition of Brandon Moss, I mean, I think they have let on for a while that, there are some lingering effects from his hip surgery, and he may be a little slow at the beginning of the season. And, I'm not one to believe that you can really win or lose a division in April, but I do think it's important for the Indians to get off to a fast start this year, a start that they really haven't got off to in the last couple of years. So, and that's one of the reasons that I guess I'm a little guarded. Maybe that's the better word. I'm a little guarded about this team because they have a lot of questionable health, or they have a short-term history of guys with a lot of questionable health. So we'll see how that develops this spring. I mean, certainly the healthier they enter opening day, the better. And as much as everyone will talk about, getting ready to go for the season, I mean, injuries are also a possibility in spring training. I mean, you look at the last couple of years, they have had an injury or two, nothing serious, but small injuries in spring training. So how those guys continue to come back and hopefully everybody else stays healthy, I think, is key headed into the start of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. You brought up Moss there, and according to the Tribe, he'll be able to he's wrapping up his rehab stuff here and should be in the next week or two that he's getting on the field hitting and should be playing games by mid-March. Most guys the ones coming in appear to be ramped up on that schedule. But as you said, it's easy to sit there and go, well, if this guy and that guy and this guy, but you got to throw in the counter, which is for every two or three that do come through, bounce back, get healthy, you're going to lose a few by attrition too, which is where you need to have that depth. And I'll be interested to see, as you said, how how things develop, how guys start to come back. Jason Kipnis, there's another one that's of huge interest. I said yesterday, talking to Dan, way more than Nick Swisher, because to me, the Indians, say what you want. Yes, money-wise, Nick Swisher affects the Indians. But to me, if he doesn't bounce back, that doesn't hurt the Indians at all on the field because he's already done nothing. So to me, you're not losing anything. I think Jason Kipnis, his bounce back is the one that you really need for the Indians to get some things cooking.
I agree with you. I think, in terms of Swisher, like you said, I mean, they kind of grew accustomed last year to expecting nothing from him. Right. And as long as they're big enough to swallow their pride and limit his role if he's not healthy, or if he continues to struggle, it's unfortunately, other than the payroll, it's nothing ventured, nothing gained at this point. I think they've kind of learned to live without him. But I totally agree with you. I think, if we're making a list of key players for the 2015 season, and like I said, I'm guarded as to how I feel about this season. I'm definitely not drinking the Kool-Aid like some people are. But to me, the difference between being that 90-win team that some people think they are, and maybe being that slightly above average team that I think they are, if we're making a list of players that can really move that needle, to me, number one on this entire team is Jason Kipnis. And I think this is a huge year for Jason Kipnis. And in my opinion, he had a good first half of 2012. He had a amazing June that I think big leaguers, dream to have a month that good in their career. And other than that, for his big league career, for the most part, he's been just a guy. And as fans, I think it's easy because he's a likable guy, because he's a guy I think, that is kind of happy-go-lucky and a guy that people relate to. It's easy to remember those all-star moments. And, we write off last year as a season that was kind of marred by injury, and there's a lot of truth in that, that's for sure. But to me, Jason Kipnis is a guy that can go a long way to making the Indians American League Central Division champions. He's a guy that can go a long way to making them, a 90-plus win team if he is that all-star caliber or near all-star caliber player that they think he is. If he is just another season of just a guy, just a big league starter and nothing special, then I think this team, slowly starts to regress towards the middle and be a lot more like what they were last year. And not that I'm preaching doom and gloom for the rest of Kipnis's career, but one of the areas of strength in the Indians minor league system is middle infield. And, we talk about Francisco Lindor all the time, but in addition to he and Jose Ramirez, they have other options as well. A guy like Eric Gonzalez is a guy who's probably a year away from being big league ready. And so if Jason Kipnis continues to be just a guy and continues to struggle defensively like he has, I'm not saying that they're going to be looking down the road to move him, but they may be looking down the road for different roles for him than what he has been at this point.
For sure. I agree with you 100%, man. I think that's why all of those things, you hit it on the head, man. That's why it's so important with him. And you know what? Another guy I pointed out yesterday, when you look at the starting pitching, it's easy to go Carlos Carrasco. And, of course, that's huge. You get the second half Carlos Carrasco, then, all right, we got some things going. But to me, Gavin Floyd is a guy that I don't have huge expectations for. But if he can just be all right at what he's going to do and fill the middle spot right there in the middle of that rotation, it allows the rest of it to just be so much of an advantage for the Indians, because whichever two guys win to 4 and 5, they're going to match up way better in the back end of other guys' rotations. Bauer, Salazar, a House, whoever it is that ends up in those spots, as long as Gavin Floyd is able to be that third guy, which is where I kind of foresee him in the rotation if he is what he should be here going into the season. So I think it's big. A lot of people overlooked that or said, oh, well, whatever. And I'm not going, hey, Gavin Floyd. But if he is all right, that allows the back half of that rotation to really do some damage, I think, to other teams.
Yeah, I think Gavin Floyd is a small risk potential medium reward, if there's such a thing, type guy. And I would be the first to say, and I know I've said this a million times, I was very critical of the Indians a winter ago for letting Ubaldo and Scott Kazmir walk out of town, and essentially for them to say, don't worry, we have Danny Salazar. And I was the one that said, well, what happens if it doesn't work? What's the safety net? And then when it didn't work, as much as we like their starting pitching now, don't forget that the first half of last season, that rotation was really a mess as they were constantly, kind of looking for another starter. It didn't come together really until August. And so while Gavin Floyd might not put, shades of Sandy Koufax into your mind anytime soon, I think, you have to applaud the Indians for kind of recognizing that mistake and knowing that they need some kind of veteran, depth or stabilizing pitcher in the middle of that rotation. And like you said, if he can do that, if he can stay healthy, if you look at his numbers from the last couple seasons, there's not a lot there because he's been hurt. But the thing is, when he has been healthy, he has pitched well. So, to me, the health is the question, and in terms of risk versus reward, if you know you're getting, a pretty good output if he stays healthy, then to me, the risk isn't quite as much. And one of the things I think that's good is it's just a 1-year deal. And it's not necessarily a lot of money. I kind of liken it to a guy that they took a chance on a couple years ago, and Brett Myers, and that one didn't work out. But it was also just a year, and they weren't stuck with something for a couple years where they couldn't go out and possibly try it again. So, if Gavin Floyd goes out and wins 15 games, I can assure you he's probably not going to be an Indian in 2016. But he might be the piece that, gets me to drink the Kool-Aid, if that's the case.
Absolutely. And one of the encouraging things with him when the Indians gave all those updates on guys that were rehabbing is it's going to be slightly individualized, but for the most part, Gavin Floyd's going to be on the same routine as the rest of the pitchers, which makes me feel good that there's not a ton of extra care that needs to be done to get him ready to get out there and start pitching some spring training games. That kind of makes you feel a little bit good about at least the way he is coming into spring training.
Yeah, I think so, and that was one of the things that they said at the time that they signed him, that, all of their medicals had told them that he was ready to go, and that was part of why they were willing, to give him a guaranteed contract. I don't think this is a situation even like Scott Kazmir, who was a guy who really had kind of lost his mechanics and was trying to, crawl all the way back from the dregs of the independent league. That's where I say, Gavin Floyd's question mark is his health. It's not his ability. So if he's healthy, the ability is there. So I think that was the deciding factor and probably why they were willing to guarantee some kind of money to him. And again, another comparison, I mean, if you feel like he's some kind of gamble, and I guess on some level he is, I mean, he's not a guy like Sean Markham trying to come back from, strange, nerve issue type injuries. I mean, not that any injury is mundane or acceptable or old hat, but his problems, Gavin Floyd's problems, are things that many guys have rehabbed and come back from. So I think it's a lot easier for the Indians to make that risk or make that investment in him.
Yeah, Tommy John's Tommy John, and you know how to fix it, and you know how to rehab it, and you know what everything is that goes with that. But when you're into the thoracic and you're into things, you're like, man, this is a strange territory here, man. I understand exactly what you mean by that. While we're throwing out new names, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about completely different scenario than Gavin Floyd, even though some people want to lump him into the same category. Way different. Gavin Floyd's got a guaranteed deal. Bruce Chen coming in. It's another arm here. I likened it to our conversation last week about Zito as far as, hey, it can't go wrong. I mean, worst comes to worst, the guy's going to say, hey, I got a better chance somewhere else at the end of spring training, and if it works out, then perhaps that's another piece in the bullpen or another depth pitcher for your rotation or something, but that's low risk, high reward again to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think there's about 1,000 directions that, Bruce Chen could go between now and opening day. I mean, he could get bombed and not get out of Arizona and be out of baseball. He could go home. He may be mediocre. He may struggle. He and his agent, I mean, I think we talk about this nearly every spring, but guys like him, he's not just pitching to make the Indians. He's pitching to possibly make any team. And if he doesn't make the Indians, he's trying to catch somebody else's eye who's maybe desperate. And, if you struggle, there are some veterans that are willing to go to the minor leagues. I guess that's a possibility for the Indians. The guys that we talk about, the 6 or 7 starters that they have at their fingertips that are competing for rotation spots. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot, and it is to start, but you're an injury away. You're a player from struggling away from all of a sudden, that cover not being so full anymore. And I can tell you at their upper levels, they do not have, what I would feel confident in a big league ready starting pitcher or someone on the cusp. So, maybe a guy like Chen could entertain an idea of going to the minor leagues for part of a season. I mean, we've seen it before. Daisuke Matsuzaka did it.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't think it's outer space to think that maybe Chen would be interested in that. And the other thing too, I mean, also from organizational depth standpoint, is I think Chen is flexible enough that if they wanted to use him out of the bullpen, I think that's a possibility. And
for sure,
while Zubchinski has been a guy that has been very reliable for the Indians, he's had ups and downs, at other different stops in his career. And Kyle Crockett is a young guy who appears to be, on the upswing, but there's nothing that says that maybe he doesn't struggle. And, Nick Hagedorn has certainly had his ups and downs. So, I don't think that I don't think that they are just bursting at the seams with depth where, adding a veteran like Bruce Chen that really gives them a lot of different options over really what I would say maybe between now and the middle of the season as possibilities depending on what happens.
Absolutely, and it can't hurt as well having a guy like that talking with your pitchers during camp. I mean, he's been in the division. He's got recent familiarity. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of benefits that can come out of that, no matter what the big end picture of it is. And as you said, I saw it as, hey man, some guys were like whining about it. I said, this is nothing. This can only go well for the Indians here. They don't have any big commitment here. They don't, this is nothing, guys. Relax about this, and we'll see how it goes. You brought up Hagedorn. I was going to go there too because that was another question I had. Dan had some interesting thoughts yesterday, and I said, all right, I'm going to ask Mike. He can really see the bullpen coming into this one the same way it ended last season, because I was talking to him a bit about Chen and some of the stuff that we were talking about, and he could really see the three lefties and the same pen coming back this year that you had at the end of last season. How close to reality do you think that is? And if not, who do you think has a chance to get in there and break that up?
I think Cody Allen, Brian Shaw, and Scott Atchison from the right side are, assuming guys are healthy. I mean, with this with this discussion, assuming that everybody's healthy come April 1st, I think those three are locks. From the left side, I would be surprised if any of those three didn't make the roster, unless I'm forgetting somebody off the top of my head. I think those six there are pretty certain. Terry Francona has definitely been known to carry, a seventh or even an eighth at times. And that's where I would say that, maybe things open up for, a long list of guys. And there's some guys in camp that I really like. I'll tell you, I don't know if he'll make the team, Jerry, but I think a guy that we'll hear from at some point this year, a guy that I really like, is Sean Armstrong. Sean Armstrong is a hard-throwing right-hander. In a lot of ways, I don't want to go too big too fast, but in a lot of ways, he reminds me of Cody Allen. He's a guy that throws hard. He's a guy that attacks hitters. 2 years ago, he was at Akron and really kind of on the same path as Cody Allen and had some early season struggles, lost a little focus, and really kind of lost a lot of his season. And then really rebounded nicely last year and had a really, really nice 2014. And, I would say he will most likely open at Columbus, but I think he's a guy that if the Indians have bullpen issues, I think he'll get that opportunity quicker than maybe some other guys whose names we might already know. And, a guy I would say to keep an eye on that is in camp that I don't think anybody's going to stand up and cheer when he comes into the game, but I think he'll give you a good effort every time he's out there and kind of fill one of those like flexible spots where maybe he could come in the fourth inning in a game where the starter doesn't quite get you there, or he could come in and get you an out in a matchup situation if that's what you needed to. And that guy I really like is Anthony Swarzak. He's put in several solid seasons, not great seasons, with the Minnesota Twins, and I think he's a guy that I can see, maybe fitting into that last spot in the bullpen. And like I said, the thing I like about him is I think he's kind of flexible, where, kind of the same way that the Indians, at least in the beginning of last year, used Scott Atchison, where he was a guy that could come in, for a couple innings when things went sideways, or maybe, come in and get you an out or two in a tight game.
I agree. That was a name I had, was Swarzak as well. I could see him making a play for one of those spots too. What do you think are the odds that they break with 13 at the pitching staff, man? Dan and I were bouncing that around yesterday because Tito loves it. He's not afraid to go with the 13-man pitching staff, man. What do you think? You think they break with 12 or 13?
Well, early in the season with extra off days, it's easier, I think it's easier to go with 13 early in the season because you have the off days, and with the Indians and the last couple years and their flexibility on the position player side, I think that's been easier to do because they've been so much more flexible. 12 guys on the position player side can give everybody, still an equal amount of time off. And when you factor in those off days early, you keep guys rested for the long haul of the season. This year, I'm not sure that it's going to be that easy because unless something happens, let's just say no trade is made between now and opening day and everybody's healthy, they kind of, in my opinion, they have an extra outfielder that they're going to have to carry unless they consider cutting somebody like a Ryan Rayburn that they've already committed money to. But at this point, they're going to have Brantley and Bourne and Moss and Murphy and Rayburn. That's 5 outfielders and Swisher. So I don't know that I count Swisher as an outfield option anymore. I think he's DH and first base, but I think Santana gets most of that first base time. So if Santana's your first baseman and Swisher's your DH, you really got 5 guys for 3 outfield spots, and I don't think Brantley's coming off the field very often, so that's a lot of outfielders, and that kind of really starts to damage that flexibility that they've had in years past. And when you do that, I'm not sure that when you flip it back over to the pitching side, you're going to have the luxury to be able to carry 13 guys.
Yeah, I can feel the same thing too with the early season and that's kind of what I was telling Dan. It'll be interesting to see too as well how that breaks down. Man, I can't wait, man. And like I keep saying all week, my favorite part about it is that we're talking about actual stuff they're doing now. We no longer have to guess and see. And you mentioned in there if they don't make a trade, I'm still of the belief that the Indians are going to make a move sometime between now and the end of spring training once they see what they've got, how the piles at certain positions pile up, and where perhaps there may be some position of strength that they could deal from. My gut still tells me that move that you and I have been looking all offseason, I still think that it may be in the offing here before they kick this thing off.
I don't know about the move that I was looking for. I thought they'd make one bigger type move. I think that they have a move in them, but it might be more of a subtle move. I think their dream of dreams is they could move David Murphy. And if they could get him off this roster, if they could get rid of his payroll, I think they would trade him for nearly anything to get his payroll off the books. I don't think what they would bring back would be very much. What they would get out of the trade would be a little bit more payroll flexibility. But just like the Indians, we just talked for 20 minutes of storylines for their camp. There's 29 other teams that have their own storylines and their questions and their injury possibilities and how their roster shapes up. And I agree with you. there were a lot of teams all winter long, Jerry, shopping outfielders. And there was a market, I would say the market was saturated with outfielders. And when you have a guy who struggled 2 years in a row, like David Murphy has, and has a $6 million contract, there's not going to be a big market for that guy when the market's saturated. But some of those guys were moved, and some of those guys settle back into roles. And if you have a team or two that thinks they're close, and they suffer some kind of injury, maybe they become a team that's willing to take David Murphy and take his salary, knowing that it is just 1 year, it is just 2015, or maybe they're even willing to just take a portion of it, and the Indians make that kind of move. So I think, we talked about most of the winter a bigger type of move. I'm not sure I'd consider moving David Murphy a big move. I think it would be big from the standpoint of if they could get rid of his contract, they would have some payroll flexibility headed into the season where if they made a trade in the middle of the year, they might have that money that had been committed to Murphy, they may have available to use to actually take on some sizable payroll if that opportunity presented itself to make a push.
I'm just going to throw a name out there. I know you got Holt. I'm going to throw this one out there. Dan Wismar bounced out, and I'm intrigued as well, although probably maybe not right now. But Zach Walters, what does that name do to you when you hear it? Man, I am intrigued as heck, even though, obviously the high strikeout ratio. We were doing the math yesterday. We're like, well, last year, limited time, he still had jacked a home run about every 12 at-bats or so, man. And he definitely has pop in the bat. But how much of a part, if any, this season could you see him playing for the Tribe?
I think he's a huge question mark. I mean, if you're a Zach Walters optimist, I think the sky's the limit. And if you're a Zach Walters pessimist, the limit's the sky. He's going to strike out a ton. I mean, yes. There are days I think he's Russell Brannion's little brother. And then, I read stories on the guy, and there are people that think that, he has the potential to hit 20 to 30 home runs this season. I don't see where that fits and how that works. But, I guess I would go back to a little bit of your log jam. But if you could solve some of that log jam, or if one of those outfielders, find Jason Giambi's back injury that he seemed to find in Goodyear every year and free yourself up a roster spot. I mean, Zach Walters is a guy that could fit with this team very nicely in that he is flexible. He can play the corner outfields. I think he can, we saw him very sparingly in the infield last year, but, he's a shortstop by trade. So, I mean, I think he's a guy that could really play all over the field. And to me, he is a kind of guy that Terry Francona likes because of that flexibility and what that could do. I mean, if you can get a guy like Zach Walters onto your roster, then that goes back to another thing that Francona likes, which is that big bullpen where you could, open the season with possibly 8 relief pitchers, and you go with the 12 position players and 13 pitchers. So I definitely think the option's there. I mean, I think, if I was doing an overall, NCAA tournament bracket style, I think Zach Walters be, coming into spring training, he'd probably be one of the last 4 out, for the opening day roster. But if you're one of the last 4 out at this point, you're on the map, and a lot can change between now and April 1st. So I think he along with Tyler Holt, I mean, are guys that bring something to the table and definitely fill roles that the Indians need.
Mike Brandyberry of DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com talking some Indians baseball. We've had some fun here. Going to have a lot of fun for the next few weeks watching them put this team together, and fingers crossed, have a lot of fun watching this team play baseball this season after that as well. We'll keep the fingers crossed on that one. But I'm fired up, Mike. I'm ready to go. And I'm fired up for some trivia as well, because you have got the the question. I dig your question. I think it's a really good one. But real quick, before we get into it, I'm getting hit with text messages here. I'm getting people in the chat room. I don't know if you've seen anything on your end, but all kinds of buzz going on around, trade deadline day with the Cavs and going off the tribe for a second. But Ray Allen seems to be the word on everybody's tongue here. But hearing a couple of reports that Cavaliers have a 3 o'clock press conference. Now, don't go crazy about that. Every team, I think, holds a press conference at the trade deadline to tell you that they didn't trade anybody and how many deals they almost made but decided not to make. Or maybe that's just Indians fans. But anyways, there'll be a trade and a conference to talk about it. But yeah, I'm hearing that Ray Allen has decided to join the Cavaliers, and that could be announced today. I don't know if you've heard anything, but what are your thoughts on that real quick? I know you're a big Cavs guy.
I've never been so unexcited to sign a Hall of Famer. if that's the case,
I'm not with it. I don't want Ray, and I love Jesus of the Playground. I do. I love Jesus Shuttlesworth, man, but he's not Jesus Shuttlesworth anymore.
Before they made their moves, I would have been all for Ray Allen, and now I just see J.R. Smith already filling Ray Allen's role, and if Ray Allen comes in at 38, 39 years old and starts taking minutes from J.R. Smith, first of all, what is Ray Allen going to do that J.R. Smith hasn't already done? So why are the Cavs dividing minutes? I don't really get that. And not that you make moves to just make moves or don't make moves to keep people happy, but I think they knew when they acquired J.R. Smith that he's a little moody, to say the least, and he's come in and really responded and played well with this team, and things have gone great. Why risk that for 30 regular, not even 30 regular season games with Ray Allen? How does he fit into the rotation? I mean, I feel like the chemistry project that is the Cavs is working, and you can see the magic is about to happen, and now we're racing to add another element that could send this in a million different directions. And I guess my question is, for what?
It's the same thing
I don't know what the risk is for the reward.
Same thing I said the other day about Amari Stoudemire, and some people were hitting me up about that. And I said, look, this is not NBA 2K15, man. How many Hall of Famers, how many All-Stars do you need to add to a team to win a championship? Like, do you guys think just because, hey, I recognize his name, hey, he used to be a great player? I mean, how many do you need to add before you can win a championship? I didn't see a place for Stoudemire, to be honest, with the game that he's got now. And what he's going to expect, and the same thing with Ray Allen. And again, he's one of my favorite all-time NBA players. I call him Jesus of the Playground because He Got Game is just one of my favorite movies, and it doesn't matter. He's not Jesus Shuttlesworth anymore, and I just don't know. I don't know that he doesn't hurt the team more than help them. I mean, down the stretch, like you said, you need a guy to shoot three-pointers in the clutch. J.R. Smith will fire them all up. The difference is he can still defend on the other end. And come playoff time, age gets exposed in the playoffs, man, quickly. Teams go old real quick. We talk about it with bullpens all the time and how quickly they can age and go bad. And same thing with the team in the playoffs. And I just don't. I don't know that I see it, and maybe I'm way underestimating Ray, but I'm with you. I thought you've got enough chemistry coming together that you still need to build. Why add more pieces to it at this point, man? Let these pieces come together, and then however it ends, reevaluate in the offseason and add pieces then. But let the rest of this finish and see how it finishes.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I mean, if they add Ray Allen, I just hope it's under some kind of premise that his minutes will be limited, and let him work his way in. And I guess there's nothing wrong with a little extra depth. I'm not sure that any role you can carve out for Ray Allen, they don't already have that guy, because I mean, if he's not J.R. Smith, then I feel like he's Mike Miller. So,
and Mike Miller's at the bottom. What's he, 10th on the rotation or whatever, playing a couple minutes a night? I mean,
right. So I mean, I feel like they already have that guy. But if they have an open roster spot. I guess, an open roster spot's not worth anything. I mean, that guy
They've been
won't
saving
make a
that
three.
spot. They've been saving it for Ray all season. They're going to use it, doggone it.
I guess, like I said, I guess, an open roster spot won't knock down a shot.
Listen,
so,
man.
I guess they might as well put Ray Allen or somebody in there. But, I hate to see them mess with their rotation and really what they've established since LeBron came back from injury. Because since they made those moves and since LeBron has come back healthy, I think this is the team that we all dreamed that we were going to see when LeBron came back and they acquired Kevin Love, and I just hate to mess with that, as they head down the stretch, and I think not to trivialize the regular season, but it's easy to say that the regular season doesn't matter too much. Well, I think these last 27 games or whatever they're playing matters a lot, because winning on the road in the NBA playoffs is not easy. I don't know the exact statistic, but I know winning a Game 7 on the road is about the same odds as like seeing a leprechaun ride a unicorn. It's really hard. So, I think this Cavs team is good enough to beat a lot of their opponents in 5 or 6 games, but having home court as long as you can, I think, is definitely to their advantage. And getting out of that 5 seed and getting up at least to 3, I think, is really important, so that you get that first round home game and you try to avoid Atlanta at least until the Eastern Conference Finals. So, to me, getting to the top 3 is really important. And in the logjam that right now is Toronto, Washington, Chicago, and the Cavs, I don't think that they can afford to be messing around with their rotation and kind of making it up as they go. Again, they seem to have just solved the chemistry, problem. Why go throw another element into it?
I can give you 23 reasons why Ray Allen will be joining the Cavaliers.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But hey, I'm not even one of these guys. I'm not going to sit here and go, well, this is the worst move they can make. I just don't think it's a great move. But hey, if you want Ray Allen on the team to play 5 minutes a game and shoot a couple threes, all right, I'm with it. I like Ray Allen. I can appreciate it. I just don't know that it's the best move. But I thought it was funny because yesterday after practice, GM LeBron came out and said, hey, I think we can win a championship with the squad we got. I like the team as it's put together now. So I would have been surprised if they made any big deals here today or whatever. But Ray Allen perhaps coming. It looks like that may be official here in the next little bit. They've got, as I said, a 3 o'clock press conference signed. So we'll see.
Hey, yeah. Sounds good to me.
We'll see what happens, my friend. Anyways, Mike, I said we'll see what happens with that, my friend, but I want to see what happens next with the trivia question as we wrap this thing up, man. And I don't know if you heard, but we got a little contest going on around here. Of course you've heard, because you're the guy with the trivia question today. But I remember last night texting Mike. He goes, well, how hard do I make this? I'm like, make it educational. He's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. I know they're going to Google search it. So I at least want them to learn something about the Indians when they're done, even if they go look it up. But I think your question actually avoids the simple Google's. What's the Google searchability of this question? Is it a simple Google search, or will they have to do a little bit of work?
No, I don't think so, because this is a question that we kicked around last summer among our writers, and the way we stumbled onto this, or we ended up doing our own research to find the answer, is, as you guys know, I have a somewhat healthy man crush on, and at this point, if Lindor were to make the team, he would theoretically make his major league debut on opening day. And that got us to wondering, who was the last Cleveland Indian position player to make their major league debut on opening day? So that's my question.
And when you dropped it on me, I was just ticking away, and I'm going, nope, that guy played in September. Nope, that guy played 3 games at the end of one season. I could not get it. I had to ask you. I go, all right, man, what do you got here, man? But I dig that, and I think that is a heck of a question. So Mike Brandyberry has got it, man. This is question number 3 in the Tribe Trivia Challenge. Again, remember, 10 questions, 10 days. All you have to do each day is listen and email the answer to thesportsfix@AOL.com, and whoever answers the most of the 10 right is going to win an authentic 1972 Indians home white Gaylord Perry jersey. Can't wait to bring it to somebody. Last year it was the 75 Eckersley, your favorite, the Fire Engine red jersey, and this year you got the Gaylord Perry. So question 3 from Mike Brandyberry is, go ahead, you read it. You're here with me again. One more time. What's your question, Mike?
Sure. Who was the last Cleveland Indian to make their major league debut on opening day?
Now, is there a distinction between pitcher and position player on this, or will it not matter?
Well, I said position player, and to the best of my knowledge, it is a position player. They don't have a rookie that ever started on opening day.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. Just making sure
I guess
everybody's
it's not
clear.
A clue. It's a clarifier, but yeah, it is a position player.
So there you guys go. Who is the Indians player who made their debut, the last one, not the first one, the last Indians player to make their major league debut? That means they never played before, except on opening day. It's a good question, and I've got the answer. Can you find it? Email it to thesportsfix@AOL.com. Thesportsfix@AOL.com. Just put question number 3 in the subject line, and bam, that's it. You're entered. Even if you didn't answer questions 1 or 2, you can still answer question 3, but I recommend that you go back and listen to questions 1 and 2 as well, because the more you answer, the better your chances to win. Mike, man, next time you and I talk, the whole squad will be together in spring training, and they'll be doing some full squad workouts, and we'll be another week closer to that opening day coming up.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll even have some mercury in the thermometer by then.
All right. Are you good for one more trivia question next Thursday?
Sure. I'll cook one up.
All right. Absolutely. We're entrusting all of the Tribe guys here to add. I love it because, like your question, I would have never went in that direction. I would have went somewhere different probably. So that's why I love having you guys in on this as well. That was a great one, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with next week.
You bet. I'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, Mike. That's Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. Of course, bookmark DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com, because all of the spring training chat has begun over there. They're looking at the minor leaguers, the major leaguers, the prospects, all of that on DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. One more time, question number 3. Who was the last Cleveland Indians player to make their major league debut on opening day? That is question number 3 in the Tribe Trivia Challenge. You get the answer right, you could win that 1972 Gaylord Perry jersey. If you stick around for the next segment, you can win a copy of the brand new book about LeBron James, Redemption of the King, written by our next guest, my man, Vince McKee. Vince, the author, joins us next to talk about his LeBron James book, the Cavs, and so much more. And somebody is going to win a book when we come back, talking LeBron James, Redemption of the King, with Vince McKee next here on The Fix.
We here at the Sports Fix want to make all of your dreams come true.
What about my dream?
Edith, I told you I can't build your candy house. It will fall down. The sun will melt the candy. It won't work.
It will if it never rains.
Oh, maybe not all of them. Get your fix on the Sports Fix.
This is head coach Gary Waters at Cleveland State, and you're listening to the Sports Fix.
Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your automotive car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. They're open late Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m. and open early Saturday so you can check it off your to-do list and get on with your day. They also have a newly remodeled service lounge and additional service bay just for Quick Lane oil changes.
Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck is located at 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View, just down the road from Independence. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. That's QuickLane.com/Valley Ford Truck. Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix is now available every day on the world's largest internet radio service, iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeartRadio app, subscribe to the show, and get your fix.
News break.
I'm Christine Lisi. Here's what's happening. ESPN's Mark Stein reporting the Timberwolves making a push to reacquire Kevin Garnett before today's 3 Eastern trade deadline. They've engaged in serious discussions with the Nets. Garnett would still have to okay the deal as he has one of 6 active no-trade clauses in the NBA. Garnett spent his first 12 years in Minnesota before being traded to Boston, where he won a championship. The Nuggets looking to move point guard Ty Lawson. Sources say Coach Brian Shaw would like to have the Pacers' George Hill as his replacement. Lawson, one of Denver's more productive players, has had trouble getting on the same page as Shaw. Reggie Jackson, in trade rumors for weeks, dodged questions about whether he wants to stay with the Thunder, would only say he would love to play basketball. His minutes have steadily declined, especially since the acquisition of Dion Waiters. Stay tuned to ESPN Radio and Sports Center for the latest on this NBA trade deadline day. NFL Lions GM Martin Mayhew says the status of running back Reggie Bush is up in the air. Bush missed 5 games last season with a nagging ankle injury. He fell behind Joyke Bell in Detroit's running back rotation.
The John R. Wooden Award, presented by Wendy's, recognizes the country's top collegiate basketball players. Go to ESPN.com and search Wooden Watch for more information on the award and the nominees.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live here as we roll on an hour or two across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rocc back with you, getting ready to be joined by my latest guest here as this jam-packed edition continues. Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. By the way, not only a great Tribe conversation, but great trivia question as well. And if you didn't hear it, I'll bring it to you guys one more time at the end of today's show. Remember, 10 questions, 10 days, your chance to win an authentic 1972 Indians Gaylord Perry jersey. Win the shirt off his back, baby. Win some Indians history if you know some Indians history. Speaking of winning, it doesn't stop. Not only are we winning here today on the Sports Fix, hashtag winning, we're going to be winning next. One of you is going to get a chance to win a copy of the new book by my next guest, Vince McKee, the author, my man, one of my favorite guys here, local sports authors. Love to have him on the show promoting his books, his latest about LeBron James, not just here in Cleveland, the redemption of the king, LeBron James' return to Cleveland, but his entire career, including the time that he spent in Miami. Vince McKee going to join us. We're going to bring you a chance to win a copy of this book at the end of the interview. Guys, you can't call. Keep the conversation rolling on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix, CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. We've got Doug Plagens of the Monsters coming up just about 20 minutes from now. But right now, going to the phones, Vince McKee. Vince the author on Twitter. My man. How you doing, Vince?
Hey, Jared. Thanks for having me on. It's always great to be on the Sports Fix.
Great to have you here as well. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing all right. Just trying to stay warm. A little bit of a what would you want to call a cold front coming in, but to me I call it a normal front because this is Cleveland, so it always cracks me up a little bit when people complain about the weather. I'm not sure what they were expecting.
Oh, I hear you there, man. It's a little bit colder than usual, but, I'm with you, too. Got to have some thick skin and deal with it. It'll warm up again tomorrow. Speaking of warming things up, everything warmer in basketball season here this year for the Cavs. Of course, the big storyline centered on LeBron James. You jumped right on that here and put together your latest book on Cleveland sports. You've written several in the past, Cleveland's Finest, Jacobs Field, the history of the Cavaliers. First off, what was it specifically that kind of put you in this direction where you said, hey, you know what? I want to tell the tale of LeBron James, and what made you decide that you could tell that story differently than anybody else?
Well, it kind of hit me during Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Right when he started cramping up, Miami was in control of that game at that point, not by a lot. I want to say they were up by about 2 or 3. But then that happened, and everything kind of caved in on him. And I remember sitting there talking with my wife and playing with my little daughter, Maggie. And I thought to myself, I'm like, for the first time in 4 years, I got a weird feeling that he might come back to Cleveland. I don't know what it is, but everything here seems way too dramatic. So I figured, I just got done writing the Cavs book a few months before that, and everything was still fresh in my head. And I thought, I'm like, if he was to come back, I'm like, that would be the ultimate story. It's almost like too good to be true. It's a Cinderella story. I wasn't particularly rooting for him to come back. I really could care less, about LeBron James as when he was on the Miami Heat. Like anybody else, I was rooting against him, which is, I feel, here in Cleveland, that was normal of us to do so. Now that he's back in Cleveland, obviously I'm rooting for him, and I'm pulling for the team. I'm all about the team. Anyways, before I get off track, as I was sitting there and I said to my wife, I'm like, I'm going to do some writing tonight. I'm just going to start tonight, and I'm going to write a little bit about his career, at St. Vincent St. Mary, then a little bit with the Cavs, and then I'm going to talk about his time with the Heat, but I'm just going to take baby steps. So as the series went on, it looked more and more like, they weren't going to win the series. The team was looking awful. They looked like they needed much more help. And it just became more and more apparent to me that, if I put in a little bit of extra work here, even if it's, 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month worth of writing, and he stays with the Heat, and I never get to use it, then, so be it. But I wanted to take that chance, and I knew if I took that chance, I'd probably be the first author out there to tell the story. And sure enough, I was. So it worked out.
And how did you go about putting that story together? How many different interviews? I mean, what was the process like to put this together? Who did you talk to? Who did you sit down with? How did you compile this?
Well, the best way I could do it was talk to as many people who were around the team at the time, and also who were smart enough about the sport and about him that they knew, his high school career as well. It was tough to get any of his teammates because, a lot of them being out in Miami, it's almost impossible. But what I wanted to do was get the people who called his action, watched his action, and were in the sports media, because you guys got nothing to lose. I mean, you say the way today, especially you, Gary. And I thought that's the way I'll go about it. I want to get an outsider's view. So that's what I did. I contacted Mary Schmidt-Boyer, who obviously worked with Plain Dealer for 21 years, most of that time, covering the Cavs. Contacted yourself right away. You were very gracious with your time. I appreciate it. Ken Carmen, Kenny Rhoda, Fred McLeod, Austin Carr, and different people who were around the team at the time, not only of his departure, but also his 4 years in Miami, who were able to give me, a general scope of things. So it was quick. I had to work quick. I remember I called you on short notice. You were nice enough to come out the next day. Harry Buffalo, North Olmsted. Quick plug for you there. So, yeah, it was just, I had to scramble, but because of people like yourself, I was able to get as much information as possible, and myself. I know my sport. I've written 5 books now, and a lot of it's my passion in life. So it was an enjoyable project to do. We rolled the dice, and, we came through.
Talking to Vince McKee, author of several different Cleveland sports books. The latest, LeBron James, Redemption of the King, is the focus of what we're talking about today. How did you go about, or did you, or what? Walk me through it, telling a story differently, though. I mean, this isn't a niche topic here. Clearly, LeBron James is a story that's been told from so many different angles, so many different aspects, all of those different things. What was the gist of your story? Is it biographical? Is it walk me through a little bit how you put it together, and again, what makes your story different than all the others that are out there? Because I'm sure there's reasons, and I'd love to hear it from you.
Yeah, there is. I went about it the same way I did Cleveland's Finest. Cleveland's Finest is a great book that people love, including myself. And the reason why it makes it great is the same aspects I applied to the LeBron story. I took something that a lot of people were going to cover, a lot of people had covered, and will continue to cover, but I wanted to give it what I call like a three-prong attack, where I take it on as an author and as a writer, and that's how I develop the storyline and the outline and as I go through. But also, just like with Cleveland's Finest, I got opinions from the fans. I got opinions from people who watched him merely as a fan, people who had his jersey on, people who had their emotions involved strictly as a fan on that outcome. So I got their emotions, their take on the situation from beginning to end. I contacted people in the media who had to cover him personally. Got people like Joe Tate and, like I said, Mary Smith Boyer and Fred McLeod, people in the media as well, who had to see it from a different aspect. They had to be, unbiased. People like yourself who are a little more boisterous about your feelings towards LeBron, and thank God you were, because that's what makes for good writing. I figured if we were going to go about this book, because I'm sure, this is the first one, like you said, I'm sure there'll be 10 more written about the exact same subject. I wanted to make sure that it was 100% truthful, that we hit it from all different kinds of angles. It wasn't just me behind the desk typing away. I wanted to get as many opinions as possible and look at it in a way and present it in a way that hasn't been done before and hopefully won't be done again. And that was the approach with Cleveland's Finest, and it worked well, and that's why I wanted to do that with the LeBron book. And after reading through it, I feel the same way. And at the same time, no one's really ever covered his 4 years in Miami in any kind of book form. There's been little magazines and, kind of little tiny little paper books here and there. But basically, this was the general scope of him becoming a man, him starting off in high school, him, developing with the Cavs. But you saw that immaturity in him as a young player and how he was able to grow. And I think with the way he came back to Cleveland, speaks volumes about how he grew up. How he grew up while he was playing in Miami, I should say. At the same time, is there going to be people who don't forgive him for the decision? I'm sure there is. I'm one of those guys that's never going to sit right with me no matter what, just because of the way it went down. But again, I guess you got to give everybody 3 strikes. So in my eyes, he's used one, and hopefully he makes good on the other 2.
I'll tell you what, I'll let you explain it here. I was a bit surprised when you told me off the air before, and maybe some Cleveland fans won't necessarily care about this aspect of it, but you told me, am I mistaken, that one of your favorite parts of this book is what you just described, and that is the 4 years that he spent in Miami and telling that side of the story that a lot of people haven't heard or haven't told.
Oh, absolutely. And it was one of my favorite times as a writer, one of my favorite times to go back and reflect on those 4 years. But they're also interesting. Sports has become such a dramatic thing, Jerry. You look at the Super Bowl now, and so many people tune in for the halftime show or for the commercial. I don't. I'm there for the game. But sports in general, unfortunately, has become such a spectacle as of late and so dramatic with everything that it really is, at times, you feel like you're watching a Hollywood movie. And when you look at his 4 years in Miami, that's how I sum it up. And I cover a lot of that in the book, and I feel like that's what makes the book excellent, in my opinion. It's his time in Miami, his early struggles with Coach Spoelstra, his early struggles making that adjustment. He didn't feel comfortable in Miami until about midway through his second season, and he's on record saying that. And it was one of those things early on with how do I play with Chris Bosh? How do I change his game? Much the way he's trying to do that this year with Kevin Love, even though he might not say that, I think it's pretty obvious. So there's a lot of drama early on. And then when you get to the Dallas Mavericks, that NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks, you got this good old-fashioned team. You got Dirk Nowitzki, you got obviously Mark Cuban, but you had this story of a group of guys who were the ultimate underdogs playing against, the Superman team, this big three they can't possibly lose. They were going to roll right through the Mavericks. And it was the ultimate good guy versus bad guy story. And I don't care if you don't like LeBron James or you don't like the Miami Heat or you don't want to think about those 4 years. This is good writing, and this is good drama. And when you go and you sit down and you read these chapters, this is really, my belief, is what is going to pull you in as a reader and as a fan, is the ultimate drama of what took place. And especially in that first season in Miami, everything he went through. And then in the second season, you look in the second season, and Jerry, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive in the Eastern Conference Finals, they were down 3-2, and they were at Boston, down 3-2, and he took the game over. I want to say something ridiculous, like 46 points, scored the first, and most of them in the first half. But that is a game he became a man. In my personal opinion, that is the first time in his career, other than the night he did it with us against Detroit, but on that big of a spectacle, back against the wall, because if they lose that game, they're done. They're going to blow that team up. The whole Big Three is done. But he came out, he took it over, and he won the game. And to me, how can you not want to write about that? How can you not want to relive it? And just, again, the drama and the spectacle of it all. So that's why when I told you, off the air and out here on the air, and I'm sure it's something I'll be repeating, countless times, I really do. I really feel like those 4 years in Miami is what makes this book special. It's what makes it different. And, it's going to be emotional for people to read, and they're going to get angry when they got to read about him winning the championship. But, if you're going to tell a story like my friend, Ray Boom Boom Mancini always tells me, you got to tell the whole story. No matter what, you got to tell the good and the bad, and that's what I tried to do.
I hear you on that, Vince, and I'm sure it's an incredible bunch of chapters there about that, but I'm in that group that don't want to hear about it. I can't lie, man. I told you that off the air. I'll tell you on the air. I'll tell anybody, man. You can paint his time in Miami as heroically as you want. Hey, his jersey says Cleveland now. More power to the Cavs and the Cavs fans, and I hope we win a championship. But you are well aware of my love-hate relationship with one Mr. number 23 there, man. And look, it is what it is, economically, coming back home, great. Although, I don't know if you noticed, this has nothing to do with your book, but I love now how everybody's recorrecting their economic projections from earlier when they were throwing those ridiculous $500 million numbers out there and all that. Now the same guy's like, well, they were rushing me for comments. It's more like 100 million, Let's not let accuracy get in the way of telling a good story or anything. But look, I get the good vibes, the good feelings. I think the Cavs have as good a chance as any team right now in the NBA to take a shot at the championship this year and perhaps for the next couple of years. That's all fine and well. But I have no doubt in my mind, and I think this will be interesting too, because this has nothing to do with your writing and what you put together, but I think there's a lot of people like me that you nailed it, would have difficulty with those sections, but they have to be told because they're part of his story, whether you want them to be part of your story or not.
Yeah, exactly. And just to touch on your point, it's funny that you say that about the economy boost, because people, I mean, come on, guys, like your job's the same. The day LeBron James came back, I didn't get called into my office by, the owner of the magazine I write for. She would say, hey, Vince, LeBron's back, so we're giving you, I don't know, another $50,000 a year. No, it doesn't happen that way. And I think people really put, not just on LeBron, but just in general, they put too much pressure on athletes' shoulders, especially in a situation like this, where there's not one guy coming back with all of a sudden, and the debt America's in and this, that, and the other. But, I mean, just joking around, but to be very honest, at the same time I'm joking around with you, the 4 years he was gone, and Jerry, you know this, because this is when we became friends. The 4 years he was gone were the 4 best years of my life. I got married, had a daughter, bought a house, got books published. So for me, like that whole aspect, I couldn't agree with you more that one athlete being in town shouldn't affect how you live your life, shouldn't affect where you live, where you work, where you buy your groceries at. He's just an athlete. It's just a sport. And when people, I'm like you, I get angry because like when people make that analogy that one guy coming back to town is all of a sudden going to change everybody's luck, that's ridiculous. So you're not going to get an argument out of me on that one, big guy. It's not going to happen.
I'm telling you, man. You can feel good, civic pride, all of that. But sometimes, as you said, people go way, way, way over the top with this stuff, man.
Yes,
but regardless, Vince McKee, my man, the author, the book is The Redemption of the King, LeBron James, a story of his not only return to Cleveland, but the beginning of his career, his departure, his time in Miami, his return, all of that. Vince McKee put it together. Clerisy Press is the outlet. I know the book is available on Amazon, or is it available yet?
They're working on getting it in the bookstores right away. It's available for
pre-order on Amazon. Yeah, I know that, right?
Yeah. Right now you can definitely do a pre-order on BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, all online outlets. You can pre-order it, and then the original date was March 17th, which is still a month away. But I just been being swamped with orders, so they're trying to push it up as quickly as possible. I heard something today from my agent that it might be in bookstores as early as next week. There's a Books A Million opening up in Strongsville, Ohio, very soon, and they're going to try to coincide a signing with that. So I would just stick to, I would stick to my Twitter account, at Vince the Author, also the Sports Fix. And anytime we find out for sure, I'll break the news. I'll let you know when they're on shelves, as well as, when we get that book tour rolling out. Right now, we're on the media tour, and usually the book tour is going to be right next door to it. So we're hoping, pretty soon. I know they were going to send you your copies. I hope they get there any day. And it looks good. I mean, it looks good on Amazon. I can't wait to hold it in my hands. So hopefully any day now.
Oh, absolutely. We'll get you back on the show in a couple of weeks when the book is officially released, but we're going to give people a chance. See, now this is double special here, man. Not only are you going to get a chance to put this book in your hands, but you're literally going to beat the box office, perhaps by as much as a month here before anybody else can get their hands on it. Of course, as Vince said, you can pre-order LeBron James, Redemption of the King on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, bookstores online. We'll pop the link up for Amazon here in a few moments across our social media. But not only can you can wait a few weeks till it hits the bookstores, or somebody's going to get it right here, right now, today, on the Sports Fix, courtesy of us and my man Vince McKee here. And I'll tell you what, let's see. Let's make it simple. We're going to go with since people are already firing off the emails here for the trivia contest, we'll stick with firing off an email here. How about the first 23 emails I get, since we're talking about one number 23, I'll randomly draw the winner from the group of the first 23 emails that I get. So hurry up, fire me off an email right now. All you got to do is say, hey, I want to win Vince McKee's copy of LeBron James' book, and you're in, and I will draw a winner at random here from the first 23 entries that we get. And you're going to get a chance to beat the box office and get your hands right now on this fantastic book, the latest in the line of sports books by my man Vince McKee, following up on Jacobs Field and the Cavaliers' history of the wine and gold and Cleveland's finest and more. And now here comes LeBron James, Redemption of the King. Vince, cannot wait to. How does that sound, by the way? 23. I figured I'd go with the LeBron themed contest here and draw the winner. Unless you've got something else you want me to do here, it's your book, baby.
No, that sounds good to me. I gotta say 23 sounds about right. I mean, as usual, thanks for having me on. I just wanted to say one thing, if I could, briefly.
No.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Of course you can, man. Go.
Well, I just want to say that I got my start on the Sports Fix, as a lot of people know. Jared's always been a big supporter. I appreciate that. But one of the things that keeps me coming back to this show, not only as a guest, but obviously as a listener, is the simple fact that you never wavered on big topics such as LeBron James. When he was here, you were hard on him, but you were honest. And especially when he left, you called it fair and square. And you were one of those guys who, even when he came back, all of a sudden you just didn't flip a switch and all of a sudden have a completely different outlook on everything. It's like, oh, wait a second, he is the greatest. He needed to leave. It's okay. All's forgotten. You never did that. There's other media outlets in town that they're about as two faces as they come. So, long story short here, I just want to say one of the things that makes the Sports Fix special, Jerry Myers in particular, is that you don't waver, you don't flip-flop. That's a lesson you taught me in life. I appreciate it, and I think this is very important. And when you say it's unique, it's honest sports talk, it truly is. So, again, I just want to make that point.
I appreciate that. Yeah, Larry in the chat room's right. This is the part where I go, Vince, stop kissing my butt. I don't need you to say that. I love you, my man. But you know what? You are right. I mean, hey, a lot of these cats here, they forgot that they didn't like LeBron James for the last 4 years. And I cannot be that guy. I'm not going to make him the arch enemy of the world, but he doesn't have to be my favorite person either, man. I can keep it real. And he can go out there and keep playing ball, and I'll be happy with what the Cavs are doing. Look, it's keeping it real. And I appreciate you, but you didn't have to say that. But, yeah, I can't be these guys just jumping up and down going, hey, I love LeBron. I always have. I haven't always, and I might not always in the future. But, at least you know where I'm coming from. And I know where you're coming from, Vince. And another great book from you, my man. Vince McKee. The book is LeBron James, Redemption of the King. It'll be in bookstores within the next month. It's online for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And somebody is going to win it right now from the Sports Fix. Email thesportsfix@AOL.com. And the first 23 that come in, I'm going to draw the winner. So get your emails in now so I can draw the winner. Vince, my friend, have a good one. You and I will get you back on in a couple of weeks when the book is hitting the bookstores, and we'll talk about your tour and all of that.
Sounds very well and good, my friend. You stay warm, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. That's Vince McKee, the author. I'm J-Rocc. This is the Sports Fix. Get your emails in to win Vince's book. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Doug Plagens, voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, joins us next here on The Fix.
We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
Throwing you the best sports commentary in town. The Sports Fix.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com.
What's your fantasy?
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys, listen up. No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, Cleveland, this is Tristan Thompson of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you're listening to Sports Fix.
Feel like a monster.
The secret side of me, I never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't control it. So stay away from me, the beast is ugly. I feel the rage and I just can't hold it. It's scratching on the walls.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix, live across the Sports Fix Radio Network, rolling on. Thanks to Vince McKee, Vince the author, for joining us last segment. Don't forget, First 23 emails, I'm cutting it off at 23 for LeBron James, and we're going to randomly pick the winner to get a copy. You're beating the box office by almost a month. Get a copy in your hands today. LeBron James, Redemption of the King by Vince McKee from Clerisy Press. You can beat the box office. We're giving it to somebody today. Email thesportsfix@AOL.com. Tell me you want in on Vince's book. We're cutting it off at 23 and drawing the winner here, and we'll announce that winner tomorrow. Well, you'll know you won tonight. We're going to announce the winner tomorrow on the Sports Fix. So get it in while you can and win a copy of LeBron James, Redemption of the King. LeBron and his partners at the Cavaliers, their cohorts, their partners in crime at the Q, if you say, are the Lake Erie Monsters. You hear the music in the background. Doug Plagens is the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters. He joins us every week here. Monsters able to get off the schneid a bit and avoid back-to-back losses there on that road trip to Milwaukee as they picked up a much-needed victory on Tuesday, 3-2. They come back home for a big slate, smorgasbord of home dates coming up for them. The first two coming up the next 2 days here, tomorrow and Saturday, with Rockford coming to the Q. Let's pick up there and pick up on the phones with Doug Plagens, the voice of the Lake Erie Monsters. Doug, how you doing this Thursday afternoon?
Doing great. How are you?
Hey, I'm all right. Thanks for being here. Are you? You obviously survived some of the Arctic freeze. I was talking about it this week. I said, man, temperature's dipping, and Doug's in Milwaukee. Not exactly a much warmer place than where we're at now, but any problems travel-wise or everything, or were you able to stay clear of all the bad stuff?
No, everything was fine. It was still pretty cold in Milwaukee. As we've discussed, it's a different kind of cold. I mean, it could be it could be 20 degrees there and 10 degrees here, and it still feels colder there. It's just the way things are situated. Chicago and Milwaukee are a different kind of cold. It's the kind that it's more of that painful cold than the being cold kind of thing. It's hard to describe, but everything was fine, and the Monsters finished off the trip with a big win, as you talked about there a moment ago. 1-3-2 in Milwaukee. The division-leading Admirals, one of the hottest teams in the AHL, especially since the turn of the new year. And the Monsters came away with a big win on Tuesday. Calvin Pickard was spectacular. The penalty kill, they were 6 for 6 on the penalty kill, 4 for 4 in the third period. And Kenny Ryan's shorthanded goal wound up being the eventual game winner. So it was one of those games where they were outshot. Milwaukee had every opportunity to at least tie the score. They weren't able to convert because the Monsters got some great goaltending, timely scoring, and the penalty kill stood tall. They did what they needed to do to win that game, and now they come home for 8 straight games at home at a critical time of the year.
Yeah, like you said, it really almost felt that urgency from the Monsters to hold on and win that game the other day because they needed to salvage the split of that trip, and that is, what are they? They're second. Are they still second in the conference? Milwaukee, I know they were.
They're right. They're right there. Yeah,
they're
definitely
right there
at the top.
Yeah, needed that one there. Monsters continue to keep themselves within striking distance. They're now 5 points out of the final couple of playoff spots there. So right where you want to be, as you said, heading into this has got to be, not trying to be that overstating radio guy, but this has got to be the key stretch of the season here. You've got 8 straight at home, and you're right there in striking distance. You don't want to let this run, I think, get away from you without making some hay.
No, you want to make sure you capitalize here, because if you look at March, there's a stretch of 8 of 9 games on the road at one point in March, I believe, maybe even more than that. There's a lot of road games in March and a lot of games against teams in the playoff hunt in March. You look at this stretch coming up here, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you've got 2 against Rockford, and they've been a tough team all season long. But then you've got Rochester, who's down near the bottom. Then you've got 2 against Iowa. They're at the bottom. And then you've got Milwaukee, Chicago later on. But this is a huge stretch, especially because it's the longest homestand of the year at a time when the Monsters could really set themselves up in nice shape to make a run. I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question for them to finish this 8-game homestand on the inside of the playoff picture instead of being on the outside looking in, if they're able to come away with 6 of 8 or 7 of 8 during this stretch. So it's a critical juncture, and you want to put yourself in a good spot going into March with all those road games, and you don't necessarily want to be going into March into a lot of those road games hanging by a thread fighting for your life. So it's a huge stretch for the Monsters without a doubt.
Right, and like you said, I kind of could see this trip or this homestand playing out that way. If you can get yourself on the inside looking out there before you hit that stretch, as you said, there's 8 of 9 right off of this. Coming off of 8 in a row, you got 8 of 9 on the road, and it's just so much more difficult to try to gain ground while you're on the road at the same time, and that's why this is so big. And those teams below you, we mentioned that last week, and they did have that problem a bit there. You saw that with Charlotte, and you can't let those teams below you snap up and get you here and take advantage of it. But by the way, as the Monsters head into this, how are they health-wise? How are things? Is there anything significantly hanging over the Monsters as they come into this key stretch?
Well, right now the injury report longer than the Monsters would like it to be. Going into that last game, out with upper body injuries. Thomas Van Seur was out. Duncan Siemens was out. Max Noro was out. Mike Scarvosa was out. Colin Smith was out. Sam Henley was out. So you're talking, good chunk of regulars right there that they're out of the lineup, which it makes it even more impressive. With injuries comes opportunity and increased responsibility for other guys, and the Monsters have had some guys really step up, and the guy who's been the backbone of it all, Calvin Pickard back there in the net, was absolutely spectacular in that game on Tuesday, and you saw right there a game that there's probably going to need to be a couple of those heading down the stretch. That's what it takes to become a playoff team, when you have a goaltender you can lean on, and he was unbelievable on Tuesday night and helped the Monsters get that 1-goal victory.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Always a big performance there from Pickard there. You know what? Talking about performances coming into this weekend, I only have a few minutes with you. I don't want to keep you too long here, Doug, but you got the big ones coming up back home. Rockford, not only 2 games back-to-back with Rockford, but the second one here, too. Make-A-Wish night at the Q, which is really kind of a cool thing. Talk to me a little bit about that, though, teaming up with the Make-A-Wish Foundation to create a very special experience for a couple of young guys.
Yeah, there are going to be 4 kids, I believe, who are going to get to have a pretty cool behind-the-scenes experience, and it's part of our partnership here with Make-A-Wish for this special night coming up. And the Monsters are going to be wearing some pretty awesome-looking Make-A-Wish jerseys, and it just goes back to another one of those great causes that comes with a special jersey that fans can bid on and potentially take home. And the proceeds go to the Monsters Community Fund and helping out the Make-A-Wish. So it's a special night, and the jerseys, like I said, they look really cool. I know for a lot of people that's always the concern when you go into a specialty jersey night, and is how those jerseys are going to look, and they look awesome. So it's going to be from all angles. This is going to be a good night, and not just on the ice, an important hockey game, but off the ice, a lot of fun people are going to have.
Oh, yeah, emotional and fun-filled, and I'm looking at the jerseys, too. Those are pretty cool, man. I definitely like the way the Make-A-Wish jerseys look. So a cool thing, on ice and off ice reasons to hit the Q this weekend. Rockford, first 2 of 8 in a row coming up for the Monsters at the house. Puck drops 7:30 on Friday night and then 7 o'clock on Saturday. Yes, Doug?
Yep, and so it's a $1 dog and soda night from Pepsi and Sugardale on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
So you got that going for you. We already hit on Make-A-Wish night for Saturday. If you can't make it to the games, they're always on radio. Saturday's game is on my 43 WAB, so you can catch it on TV as well on Saturday.
There you go. Catch Doug on TV. Doug, I'm glad we were able to catch you. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of a busy week. Next week, we'll be in the middle of this homestand. First couple against Rockford will be behind you. We'll be looking at, we've got 3 games coming up next week as they get into the
we've got the old school day game coming up next week, too.
That's right. Absolutely, man. So we're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of things to talk about here. What is that, 10:45 is the
10:45 a.m. on Tuesday. Monsters in Rochester.
So we know for a fact Doug Plagens cannot join us on Tuesday, so there we go. I forgot about that. You're right, 10:45 on Tuesday, and I always love that one, man. I think that's such a cool concept there, man. But so you've got that one. You've got a couple with Iowa next week. This weekend, Rockford is on tap. Can't even get past there first. We'll see what happens. You and I will catch up next week, maybe Thursday, Wednesday, somewhere in that area, and get caught back up on the latest week for the Monsters.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me, as always.
As always, thank you for being here. That is Doug Plagens, the voice of your Lake Erie Monsters, as they come into a huge key stretch here coming up for them. 8 in a row at home, and this is really, seriously, when you're a handful of points out of the playoffs, this is where you get yourself on the inside looking out, and it's going to be tough. You don't want to go to Texas. That Texas trip coming up at the end of this alone, that's 4 with Texas, and then back-to-back with San Antonio sandwiched between 2 Texas games there. You've got Toronto, Rockford. I mean, there's a lot of road games coming up there for them, and you don't want to be trying to make up ground when you're also having to travel, having to hit the road, go far away, long trips, all of that stuff. So take advantage of this that's in front of you here with the Monsters. Plus, as he said, Make-A-Wish night. That's going to be a really cool thing, and I've got a soft spot. I've seen some Make-A-Wish things up front, and you guys, seriously, you can watch the videos and stuff, and you, unless you're there, you just have no idea how much those things mean to those kids. And I think it is so awesome that, you know, a way to, for one night, you see kids who have so many serious, real problems. And I don't just mean in front of you, like behind the scenes. If you ever get to experience something like that up close, be a part of one of the teams when they're working with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I mean, I'm telling you, for one night, these kids forget everything that's wrong with them. They just get to be. They get to be kids again. They get to have a really special experience. I've got a big soft spot for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the fantastic work that they do. So hats off to the Monsters for teaming up with them for Saturday's game. That's this Saturday, Rockford at the Q, 7 p.m. 4 Make-A-Wish kids get to have their wish granted, which is to be a part of the Monsters for the evening, and they'll have all kinds of cool things. They're going to drop the puck at mid-ice and all of that. And they'll also be donating. They'll be doing the jerseys. You'll auction them off, and the donations from the jersey auctions will go towards the Make-A-Wish Foundation as well. Can't wait to catch up with Doug next week. After that, here coming up, you know what? We're going to call this one a day here on the show because we've got a lot to get ready for tomorrow's show. Looking ahead, Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland, as I said, was scheduled to be with us here. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to or not now. If not, hey, I'll hold down the fort here. We've got a lot of Cavaliers talk. Trade deadline, we'll see if Ray comes and plays for the Cavaliers. As we're hearing, it appears that may be a probability before the day ends to be announced by the Cavaliers. We'll talk about that. Some changes going on. I hear Norris Cole may be on the move to Phoenix now, perhaps to join the Suns. I saw some hubbub going on that he may be in the midst of getting traded there in Dragic. There may be a package involving Cole. It looked like a pretty complicated dealing there. We'll have to see. We'll talk about all the trade deadline stuff as it goes down. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire, will join us. Question number 4, Quattro, in your Indians Tribe Trivia Challenge coming up. Don't forget, if you missed it, hey, question number 3, courtesy of my man Mike Brandyberry from DidTheTribeWinLastNight.com. You guys, question number 3, who was the last Cleveland Indians player to make their major league debut? That means they did not play in September. They were not called up in the fall, any of that. They made their major league debut on opening day for the Cleveland Indians. Who is that? I know it. Do you know it? Email the answer to thesportsfix@AOL.com. Thesportsfix@AOL.com. Question number 3. Say, here's your answer, and you're entered. 10 days, 10 questions. Most number of correct answers is going to win a 1972 Indians Gaylord Perry jersey. So get your answers in. Also, first 23 only. That's the cutoff to win a copy of the new LeBron James book, Redemption of the King by Vince McKee, who joined us here earlier today. The book is not out at bookstores for another month. It's available here, now, today, for you. Email thesportsfix@AOL.com and tell me, hey, I want a chance to win the new book from Vince McKee about LeBron James, and we're going to draw the winner tonight. I'll announce the winner of that one coming your way tomorrow. Thanks to Vince McKee for joining us. Thanks to Mike Brandyberry for joining us earlier in the first hour. Doug Plagens of the Monsters here. And thanks to each and every one of you, as always, for doing the Sports Fix thing here with us. We got a lot to get into tomorrow. We'll talk about whatever comes out of the combine with the Browns. I know I'll get a chance to sit down tonight and check out that Ray Farmer audio a bit more. NBA trade deadline moves. Cavaliers tip off the second half of their season here post All-Star break. 26-game sprint to the playoffs begins tomorrow. We'll talk about all of that. Indians spring training moves on, and so much more. Vikings are back in action tomorrow, trying to get themselves primed for the Horizon League tournament. Got a lot to do, so come on back here and let's do it tomorrow. And hey, tell them fellow Indians fans to tune in, because nobody's talking Tribe like we talk Tribe here on The Fix. Not just during the season, off the season. We spend more time talking Tribe in the off season than most of these cats do during the regular season each day. So get that Tribe fans, get the Tribe Twitter up in a roar and say, hey, you guys want to be mad that this guy and that guy and this guy ignores the Indians? You know who doesn't ignore the Indians or the Cavs or the Monsters or the Vikings or the Browns or anybody else? These guys. Just tell people that, and we'll be all right. Having some fun, but actually, I've seen quite a few people. That's literally how they recommend us to other people, and I'm like, hey, that's cool, man. We'll just be middle of the road, and I'm all right with that. But seriously, we prefer to think of ourselves as a safe haven for Cleveland sports fans and sports fans in general to come and not drive themselves crazy, not pull their hair out, and maybe even have a good time while they're at it. I know people out there are bound and determined to prove to you that you can't have fun talking sports. We, on the other hand, believe that you can, and that's what we shoot for here today. So thank you guys for being with us today. Get here tomorrow and end your week with us right here. Jonathan Knight, sports writer extraordinaire. Cavaliers second half preview. Perhaps Eddie Jansen joins us. I'm not sure about that. We're going to let you know who won the Vince McKee, LeBron James book today. Question number 4 in the Sports Fix Trivia, Tribe Trivia Challenge, and more coming your way tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, live at noon, right here across the Sports Fix Radio Network. We love you, Cleveland. Have some fun tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, right here on The Fix.
Long nights, cold weather, it ain't nothing pretty. So much hate up in this itty bitty city. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Put your hands up in the air, everybody say yeah, yeah, yeah.